Among history's most remarkable figures, Maria Feodorovna was born on the 26th of November in 1847 in Copenhagen, Denmark. She became a queen not by birth, but by the strength of her heart and the journey she took across borders. Have you ever wondered how a Danish princess became one of Russia's most beloved empresses? What made her story stand out during one of the most dramatic times in royal history? Please watch my full video until the end, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please make sure to share it with your friends. Thank you. Now let us dive into the full story. Maria Feodorovna's birth name was Princess Dagmar of Denmark. She grew up in a royal household, but her family was not wealthy. Her father, Christian IX of Denmark, worked to keep peace in a Europe full of rising tensions. Her mother, Louise of Hesse-Kassel, focused on raising her children with strong values and a sense of duty. Dagmar was close to her siblings, and especially known for her grace, politeness, and charm. These qualities would later make her a beloved figure across Russia. Though her early years were filled with simplicity, they prepared her for a life that would be anything but ordinary. Little did anyone know, this Danish princess was destined to stand tall through love, loss, revolution, and exile. Maria Feodorovna, known at birth as Princess Dagmar, spent her early childhood in Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark. Her family lived a modest royal life in a home that was more practical than grand. Even though her father, Christian IX, would later be known as the father-in-law of Europe. Their household in the 1850s was not rich. The family lived with careful spending, but there was no shortage of love, laughter, or learning. Dagmar was raised alongside her brothers and sisters, including Alexandra, who later married Edward VII of the British royal family. The children were taught to speak several languages, including Danish, German, and French. They also learned history, geography, religion, and music. Their mother, Louise, made sure they were polite, humble, and responsible. From a young age, Dagmar was known for her warmth and graceful manners. She was especially close to her sister Alexandra, and both girls shared dreams of a happy future. Denmark, though small, was proud of its royal family. The court may not have been filled with gold and riches, but it was rich in tradition and strong family bonds. Dagmar's early life shaped her character. She saw her parents face difficult decisions and national issues with strength and calm. These lessons taught her about duty, loyalty, and the importance of unity. Even before she stepped foot in Russia, Dagmar's heart and mind were being shaped for a larger destiny, one that would carry her far from the quiet gardens of Denmark, into the heart of an empire on the edge of change. As Dagmar grew older, her grace and royal upbringing made her a perfect match for one of Europe's great royal families. In the early 1860s, she became engaged to Tsarevich Nicholas Alexandrovich, the heir to the Russian throne and son of Tsar Alexander II. Their engagement was not just a royal arrangement, it grew from real warmth and mutual respect. Dagmar and Nicholas shared letters and met during royal visits, building a connection that promised a bright future. But fate had different plans. Just a short time after their engagement, Nicholas fell seriously ill with what would later be diagnosed as spinal meningitis. Despite the efforts of doctors and the care of his family, he died in the year 1865 at the young age of 21. Dagmar was heartbroken. She traveled to Russia to say goodbye, and her sadness was felt by the entire imperial family. Before his death, Nicholas had expressed a wish that Dagmar would someday marry his younger brother, Alexander Alexandrovich. The Russian royal family, already fond of Dagmar, supported this idea. Though she was deeply saddened, Dagmar accepted this new path with quiet strength. Her decision to remain connected to the Russian court, even after such a loss, showed her courage and sense of duty. It also marked a turning point in her life. Instead of returning to the comfort of Denmark, Dagmar chose to stay connected to a new country, a new culture, and a future that was once again uncertain. Her story, now marked by sorrow, would soon turn toward unexpected greatness. After the tragic death of Tsarevich Nicholas, Dagmar's life changed course. Honoring Nicholas's final wish, and with the support of both royal families, she became engaged to his younger brother, Alexander Alexandrovich. Their bond grew slowly, built on mutual respect, shared values, and a deep understanding of duty. In the year 1866, she left Denmark and journeyed to Russia once again, this time to begin a new chapter. Before the wedding, Dagmar converted from Lutheranism to Russian Orthodoxy, taking on a new name, Maria Feodorovna. The ceremony was held in St. Petersburg, full of tradition, ritual, and imperial splendor. Though she was only 19, Maria stepped into her role with quiet strength and calm confidence. Joining the Russian court meant adjusting to a new language, customs, and political expectations. But Maria embraced her new life. The court was formal and filled with tradition, but she managed to add warmth wherever she went. People admired her kindness, elegance, and the way she honored both Russian customs and her Danish roots. As the wife of the future emperor, Maria understood the importance of her role. She supported Alexander as he prepared to lead an empire, offering advice and encouragement behind the scenes. Even before becoming empress, she was earning the trust and admiration of both nobles and citizens. Maria's graceful entry into Russian life showed her adaptability and quiet determination. She was no longer just a princess from Denmark. She was now a rising figure in one of the most powerful empires in the world, ready to walk beside a future Tsar. In the year 1881, Maria Feodorovna became the Empress of Russia, when her husband, Alexander Alexandrovich, was crowned Emperor Alexander III. Their reign began under the shadow of tragedy, as Alexander's father, Tsar Alexander II, had just been assassinated. The court was filled with tension, and the empire faced unrest and fear. In these difficult times, Maria stepped into her role with calm strength and dignity. As Empress, Maria was respected for her poise, intelligence, and strong moral values. She never involved herself directly in politics, but she played an important role behind the scenes. She often acted as a calming influence on her husband, encouraging thoughtful decisions. Her grace and charm helped soften his strict and conservative rule in the eyes of the people. Maria remained deeply committed to family values and traditions. She also embraced her role in public life, supporting charities, visiting hospitals, and encouraging education for women and children. Her presence in the Russian court was both elegant and steady, providing a sense of reassurance during uncertain times. Though life in the imperial palace was surrounded by riches and ceremony, Maria never forgot the simpler values she learned in Denmark. She balanced the formality of her position with kindness and compassion, becoming one of the most beloved empresses in Russian history. Maria's years as empress were marked by a strong sense of duty, loyalty to her people, and devotion to her husband. In a court where power and fear often ruled, she brought warmth, dignity, and quiet strength to the heart of the Russian Empire. While serving as Empress of Russia, Maria Feodorovna also focused deeply on her role as a mother. She and Alexander III had 6 children together, 5 sons and 1 daughter. Her oldest son, Nicholas, would one day become Tsar Nicholas II. From their earliest years, Maria was closely involved in her children's upbringing. She believed in hands-on parenting, not just royal formality. Maria made sure her children were raised with love, discipline, and a sense of duty. She often took part in their daily routines, reading to them, checking on their lessons, and even playing games in their private quarters. Despite the heavy responsibilities of her position, She created a warm family environment, trying to shield her children from the harsher realities of palace life. She had a special bond with Nicholas, who was quiet and gentle by nature. Maria worried that he might not be strong enough for the weight of the crown, yet she continued to support and guide him with motherly care. Her hopes and fears for her children were the same as any mother's, even though their future would unfold on a world stage. Family life also gave Maria moments of peace and joy. In a court often filled with tension, her children were her true comfort. She often took them to palaces outside the city, where they could enjoy a more relaxed and natural life away from the strictness of St. Petersburg. For Maria, motherhood was more than duty. It was love, sacrifice, and the deep wish to raise children who could face the future with strength and kindness. Maria Feodorovna was loved by the Russian people, not only as their empress, but also as someone who truly cared for them. From the moment she arrived in Russia, her grace and kindness stood out. Unlike many royals who stayed far from ordinary people, Maria made efforts to be close to the public. Her warm personality, gentle smile, and polite manner earned her deep respect across the empire. She became especially known for her charitable work. Maria supported hospitals, orphanages, and schools. She often visited wounded soldiers and sick children, listening to their needs and offering comfort. She believed that being empress meant more than just wearing a crown, it meant serving others. Her presence in public events brought hope to many who lived in difficult conditions. Maria also encouraged education and healthcare for women, something rare for that time. She worked quietly, often behind the scenes, to support those who had no voice in society. Her kindness reached both the noble class and the common people. Though she lived in grand palaces, Maria never ignored the real world outside the royal gates. Her efforts to help others were not about display, they came from the heart. She showed that royalty could be both noble and compassionate. Although Maria Feodorovna did not hold any official political power, her influence within the Russian monarchy was strong. She understood the limits of her role as empress, yet she used her voice carefully and wisely. Her opinions mattered to her husband, Alexander III, who often turned to her for advice during important decisions. Maria encouraged peace and caution. She disliked conflict and believed that a ruler should care for all people, not just the wealthy or powerful. When her husband's policies became too harsh, she sometimes stepped in with gentle suggestions. Her calm reasoning often helped soften his stricter ideas, especially when it came to issues affecting everyday citizens. After Alexander III passed away, Maria continued to stay involved behind the scenes. Her son, Nicholas II, became the new emperor, and she tried to guide him through his early years as ruler. She worried that he was not strong enough for such a heavy responsibility, and quietly offered him support and guidance. Though she was never part of the government, Maria's presence within the court shaped many important conversations. She was respected for her intelligence and moral strength, and her quiet advice influenced both rulers and ministers. Her role proved that power can exist without a title, and that wisdom can guide from the shadows. The Russian Revolution changed Maria Feodorovna's life forever. By the early 1900s, the empire was full of unrest. People were angry about poverty, unfair treatment, and a lack of political freedom. As these tensions grew, Maria watched her son, Nicholas II, struggle to lead a country that was on the edge of collapse. Maria had always believed in strong leadership, but she feared that Nicholas was not prepared for the difficult times ahead. She also had deep concerns about the growing influence of Rasputin, a mysterious advisor who had gained power within the royal family. Maria did not trust him and believed he was a danger to both the monarchy and Russia. In the year 1917, the revolution exploded. The Romanov dynasty, which had ruled for over 300 years, came to an end. Nicholas was forced to step down, and Maria's world crumbled. The royal family was placed under house arrest, and the new government took control of the empire. Not long after, Maria's son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren were executed in secret. The loss was unbearable. Maria refused to believe the news at first. For a long time, she held on to hope that they had survived. But as the truth became clear, she was overwhelmed with grief. The revolution took away not only her family, but also the world she had known for most of her life. Her days as empress were over, and the Russia she loved had vanished. Yet, through all the heartbreak, Maria remained strong. Her spirit would carry her into exile, but her heart would always remain in the empire she once called home. After the revolution, Maria Feodorovna fled Russia with the help of loyal friends and family. She traveled through Crimea and found safety aboard a British ship sent by her nephew, King George V of the United Kingdom. Though she was grateful to escape with her life, Maria left behind everything she had ever known her home, her family, and the empire she had served for so many years. She settled in Denmark, returning to the country of her birth. But life was never the same. Though surrounded by relatives, including her sister Alexandra, Maria never stopped mourning the loss of her son Nicholas and his family. She refused to speak openly about their deaths and clung to the hope that one or more of them might have survived. In her later years, Maria lived quietly in a house near Copenhagen. She stayed away from politics and focused on her memories, her faith, and the few remaining people she trusted. Though she no longer held a royal title in practice, many continued to honor her as an empress in spirit. Her dignity, even in sorrow, reminded others of a time when royalty was tied to duty and strength. As old age settled in, Maria remained proud but heartbroken. The Russian Empire she had once helped shape was gone, but the memory of her love, service, and sacrifice lived on. In her silence, she carried the weight of a lost world, one she had once ruled with grace, and one she would never see again. Maria Feodorovna passed away peacefully on October 13, 1928, in her home near Copenhagen, Denmark. She was 81 years old. After a life filled with royal duties, personal tragedies, and historic change, her final years were spent in quiet reflection, far from the grand palaces of Russia. Her death marked the end of an era. She had been the widow of Alexander III, the mother of Russia's last Tsar, and one of the last living links to the Romanov dynasty's golden age. People across Europe paid their respects, remembering her dignity, courage, and unshakable spirit. Maria was buried in Denmark, next to members of her Danish family. But her heart had always remained in Russia. For decades, she rested in a foreign land, separated from the country she once called home. In the year 2006, her remains were finally moved to Russia. She was reburied beside her husband in the Peter and Paul Cathedral in St. Petersburg, where generations of Romanovs had been laid to rest. The ceremony was emotional and symbolic, a reunion with the empire she had served so faithfully. Even in death, Maria's journey told a story of love, loyalty, and a lifelong bond with a nation she never stopped calling her own. Maria Feodorovna's life remains one of the most remarkable stories in royal history. Born a Danish princess, she became the Empress of Russia, guided an empire through crisis, and lived long enough to witness its fall. Her journey was shaped by love, duty, loss, and strength, qualities that defined her from beginning to end. Throughout her life, Maria showed a unique balance of warmth and resilience. She stood beside her husband during difficult times, raised a family with deep care, and remained devoted to the people of Russia. Her actions were never loud, but always meaningful. In the background of grand events, she brought a sense of grace and humanity that left a lasting mark. Even during exile, Maria remained proud and composed. She refused to give in to bitterness, choosing instead to hold on to her memories with quiet strength. Her courage inspired those around her, and her loyalty to her family and heritage never faded. Historians remember Maria as more than just an empress. She was a woman of deep faith, thoughtful character, and timeless grace. Her letters, photographs, and public acts still speak to those who study her story today. In an age of great change and conflict, Maria Feodorovna stood as a symbol of dignity and devotion. Her legacy lives on not just in history books, but in the way she carried herself through the darkest of times with elegance, love, and an unbreakable spirit. Thank you very much for watching.